Welcome back to episode 21 of the Tech Lounge, and I'm joined by Kev from Tech Showdown. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, Brian. How about you?
Whew, it's been busy. It's been busy, and we're going to talk about a lot. So, yeah, it's just been crazy the last week. I guess ever since Ryzen was released, it has been crazy, guys. So it has been off the chain, and yeah, I haven't stopped. And I know a lot of people want to see, like, there's this question, a lot of people want to see, like, the vlog styles, more of the U stuff. And once the time frees up, I promise I'll be getting a lot more of that content out too. And I do stick to my promises, guys. Don't worry. How about you, dude? What have you been doing in the last week?
It's just been crazy. Yeah, just trying to basically get through a backlog of some of the videos that I needed to get out, and then to obviously open myself up for Ryzen 5. So I just finished building my Ryzen 5 test rig yesterday, and that video will be going up today, hopefully. So that was quite interesting. We'll talk about Ryzen 5 a bit later on today, but yeah, it's going to be really good going forward. I got a lot of really awesome videos planned. I think you guys are going to be really excited.
Well, the good thing is now with this release is there's going to be both the 4-core and the 6-core release. So after this, we can kind of not have, like, no more hype coming out. So it's like, here's the results, here's how the 6-core performs, here's how the 4-core performs, and just based off Ryzen 7, the lower SKUs, the cheaper SKUs, they're going to pretty much be the same thing. It just depends on overclocks. So we can't say, oh my god, this is going to be so much better price performance, when it'll probably overclock the same as the 1600 will overclock the same as the 1600X and whatnot. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I'm just, because I want to get back. Like, Ryzen's just been crazy, man. The internet's just been going insane. It's been, honestly, it's just been like a heap of, it's been fun. It's been like good and bad. Like, it's been fun, but then there's just been all this like hype, and then like
craziness.
Yeah, there's been a lot of craziness out there. So yeah, you and Adored TV had that thing, right? And you sorted it all out, which was really good. He's a good man. So
yeah. Me and Jim sorted out. So we have our disagreements, but you know, we talk to each other, and we both made a video basically saying sorry for what we did, and me for making accusations and him for reacting very harshly. So but we started talking to each other quite a bit, actually, and we actually get along really well. So yeah, he's a really nice guy, and yeah, it was good to sort everything out with him and talk to each other, and hopefully we might do a collab together or something going forward, because we actually do get along really well. So yeah, I've been talking to him quite a bit lately. Yeah, he is a nice guy.
Yeah, well, like, that's the thing, man. I'll never judge a man that I haven't met in real life. You know what I mean? So that's just me, brother. So you should, I was like, yeah, dude, you shouldn't have done that one, but it's all good. It's all water under the bridge, bro. You learn your lesson, so you move on. And speaking of moving on, see, look at that segue. Speaking of moving on, we've got here the TitanXp, and now people have asked me to pump up the text, enlarge it, so we can. I mean, I pumped it up a little bit. We can go a little bit crazier than that. So we can go all the way in. There we go. Now, hopefully people can read it. That's a little bit too much. Alright, so okay, so basically, yeah, so do you want to talk about the TitanXp Rerelease first, or do you want me to talk about it first?
Yeah, so I'll basically, I think this caught a lot of people off guard. It's first the name. So it's going to be, the official name is actually TitanX with the lowercase p. Now that's confusing, because the last Titan X, the official name was just Titan X, and the one before that was Titan X. That's the Maxwell and the Pascal. But because we didn't want to confuse people, or when we were talking about it, we, and by we I mean people in the tech community, added the P on there. So its unofficial name for the second Titan X was the Titan XP. Now NVIDIA has just made that even more confusing by making this one's official name the TitanXp. So it's just so confusing. If you're a retailer and someone came in to buy one of these, or maybe they already had one and they want to know the difference, they're just going to be so confused trying to buy one. So the naming scheme I just don't get. It's not that hard to change a name. You could make it, if you want to stay with the X, I thought the Titan Triple X would be awesome, you know, XXX, because it's the third
You and your
Titan X.
you and your porn music. Porn
That's
music on
actually,
the
no,
intros
that
and
sounds
stuff.
badass though. Titan Triple X though, that sounds awesome. Yeah, and it makes sense as well because it's the third Titan X, so there's 3 X's. I just thought that would be okay, but but I don't get it. Anyways, moving past the name, it's got more CUDA cores. You're going up to 3,840. The memory's been bumped up as well, and yeah, it's just, and the clock speed's gone up a little bit. But in general, it's just a bump up. It's sort of a rebrand of sorts. So there's that side of it. Again, they're going to be charging a premium price for it, which I think also upset a lot of people considering the price point now that the 1080 Ti is coming in. Which the performance between the two, I can't imagine will be very big. So yeah, this will be interesting. I mean, it's got more CUDA cores than the 1080 Ti, but memory-wise, it's got a bit more bandwidth as well, so that will help. But will people actually be willing to pay that extra money over the 1080 Ti or this Titan XP, the new one? And I'm not sure if they will. Now, NVIDIA have also done a lot of marketing stuff saying this one's for deep learning and things like that, which, okay, and it has Mac support now as well, so that's good, I suppose. But yeah, not really. I think a lot of people are a little bit disappointed by this, and I think it is just NVIDIA trying to extend the lifespan of Pascal for about as long as they possibly can before Volta. But what do you think?
Oh yeah, bro. Yeah. So I just think like they should have just called it, the most logical name for this would be the TitanXp Re, right? That would have caused no confusion. Put triple X, bit of a porno name. Titan X2, you're like, oh, okay, there's a dual GPU. TitanXp Re would have been fine. I don't know why the internet's ranting so much though. I think it's an over rant. I've never recommended a Titan before in my life. I probably won't be recommending one based on its price performance, which isn't that good. The internet's been going crazy. I mean, look, if you bought a Titan X, the original XP, you've had that for 8 months. You've had those bragging rights for 8 months. 8 months is pretty long in the GPU world. And then they've re-released it, and you've now got 10% more performance, pretty much. That's what I'd guesstimate, 10% more. For 8 months, that's really not bad. I mean, you're not screwing over the original Titan XP buyers. I don't think they're getting screwed over. They know what they're getting in for when they buy that graphics card. So, yeah, that's my thought.
I would agree. Yeah.
I think it's just over. I think it was an overreaction. People just ranting left, right, and center. It's like, it's NVIDIA, guys. They make money. That they do business. Titan, especially the Titan brand, is the brand that is the rip-off brand. It's like no two ways about it. If they did this on a 1080 Ti and then released the 1080 Ti 2 or something, yeah, I could understand, because we're gamers, man. We like that price performance, and okay, you're screwing over the original 1080 Ti owners. But on that note, I've actually just tested this out here. This is, just reviewed the Aorus. This thing is so damn good. Like, wow. It's going to pretty much, this thing out of the box will pretty much be the same speeds as the Titan XP, this new one. I'm going to talk about it in the review. It's got the power limits like up to 150%, so it's much higher than the Founders Edition. And you'll see in the benchmarks I'm going to show, because I've done all the benchmarking. I've actually cut the video and stuff. I just got to make the video and upload it, which takes ages. But it is performing a good 10% ahead in a lot of cases against my Founders Edition with the Accelera cooler on it in games. It's just a beast. The power targets there, when I'm looking at the figures post benchmarking, I'm getting up to like 140%, 141% power target being hit in games. So that is a real limiting factor on the original Founders Edition card. So the Aorus is legit. Like, it's only an extra 50 USD over the 700 USD Founders Edition card. So it's binned. It's just the cream of the crop. And that's going to pretty much be the same speeds as the $1,200 card being just released now. So that would be the card to get if you're an enthusiast. Of course, you're going to be using up not much more power, considering TitanXp is going to have those extra unlocked cores, but yeah, I think you're going to be getting your money's worth for sure. If you buy those binned 1080 Ti's, they're going to be awesome for overclockers. So hopefully Nvidia doesn't take too much notice of this and doesn't nerf the next Ti variant that comes out, but who knows?
Yeah, no, exactly. So I think that's really good, and I think that's what everyone was looking forward to. The fact that these non-reference 1080 Ti's are just going to be ridiculously powerful. I'm going to be doing showdowns with them very soon. I have seen quite a few of them already around, so yeah, that'll be really, really fun to do. But these are really powerful cards, and that's what I mean. I mean, you summed it up very well. Will people still buy this new TitanXp when you could just buy one of these really good model non-reference 1080 Ti's and just overclock them like crazy? And because remember, the Titan lineup, you can only get them in the reference. There's only the Founders Edition. There's not like there's non-reference versions for you to buy. So obviously with the non-reference 1080 Ti's, they'll have all the upgraded components and all the other fun stuff on them that allow you to do those massive overclocks. And yeah, I think performance-wise, it'll be exactly the same or very close to it. So it does beg the question. Nvidia wouldn't release it unless they thought it would sell, but
well, whilst being quieter and cooler as well, these aftermarket coolers, this one here is a 1 kilo cooler on its own. Like a detach it from the PCB and backplate, it's like 1,020 grams. It's huge. Absolute monster of a cooler. Reminds me of the Lightning days. I like that. That cooler was one of my favorites. So, yeah, TitanXp. But speaking of re-releases, we'll go into this. The RX 580 and 570. These are pretty much exactly the same thing. A re-release of your graphics cards, your RX 470 and 480. Yet, why isn't the internet going stupid over this? No.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I guess, because it was... I'm not sure. That it was maybe expected.
Oh man, this GPU Z shot, like, seriously, man, it's like someone had this on the lowest res monitor they could find and then took it on the lowest res camera they could find. I haven't seen it.
It looks like it's been compressed a whole bunch of times and it's just come out. Like, this is just something that's been regurgitated by, like, a re-render, like, 4 times over.
I haven't seen a screenshot this bad in a long time. Like, dang.
Yeah, that's pretty shocking. So, yeah, this is quite, the only real changes that we can see. So, GPU-wise, it's exactly the same. The 580 to the 480 will be the same, and the 570 to the 470 will be the same in terms of the amount of cores, or as AMD put it, stream processors, TMUs, ROPs, everything's the same. So basically always saying going from the 480 to the 580 is a clock speed bump up. So the 1266 reference speed for the 480 gets bumped up to 1340. So that's pretty good there. That's a decent jump up, nearly 100 megahertz. And then the 470 to the 570, this is actually where we'll probably see a bit more of a difference. Now, the clock speeds have only gone up slightly from 1206 to 1224. The main difference here is that the memory's gone up from 6600 megahertz to 7000 megahertz.
That's a small boost.
A decent jump.
Nah, it's actually pretty. That's pretty piss weak for a jump. Actually, that is.
I mean, it's still small. It's not like what we saw. This is definitely much less than if you remember back to the 200 series when we jumped from the 290, 290X to 390 and 390X. And that actually changed GPUs, kind of. They changed the name. It went from Hawaii to Grenada. And basically, the Grenada GPUs were just a bit better binned. You could get a bit better overclocks out of them. They used a bit less power. The TDP went from 300 watts to 275. And there's a few other things, but the main benefit there was the memory jumped up a lot. That was like 1,000 megahertz jump up in memory speed, and also the memory doubled from 4 to 8. So
and
there was a very good jump there.
Benchmarks wise, you got about 10% more too. Like when I was looking at benchmarks, this looks like 5% at best. That's like, it's looking like a pretty piss weak rebrand. I mean, come on, internet warriors, if you're gonna blast Nvidia for the re-release of the TitanXp, which is giving you more, why don't you blast this? Where's your videos? You know, like it just seems like it's just okay. Let's hate on Nvidia. You know, Nvidia makes money; they're a business, but this is the exact same thing, but worse, in my opinion, because it's a mainstream card. Yet, you know, this just goes ignored. It's no problems. I mean, I don't really care.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I don't bother ranting, but just pointing shit out. You know.
No, I get what you're saying, and it is exactly right. So maybe the non-reference models of these are the reference specs, will take that even higher in terms of clock speeds and stuff like that. Maybe you'll see a big jump up. Kind of reminds me of the 280X, say, over the 7970. It was that same GPU, the Tahiti, but you got the 280X was basically a gigahertz edition 7970. So yeah, that'll be interesting. The only other interesting thing I saw was that the RX 480, the reference models, if you guys remember back, had just a single 6-pin power connector. The reference 580 will have an 8-pin power connector. Now you may remember back to the power type issues. If you go through a 6-pin, you get 75 watts, and you go through the PCI, that's another 75, and there was some problems there. So it looks like AMD have sort of just decided to go with an 8-pin and just completely, you know, so you don't need to worry about that. So maybe the power limits wise, at least on the reference models, might be a bit better, but all the non-reference were 8-pin anyway, so I don't really think it'll make too much of a difference unless you're upgrading from a reference 480 to a reference 580, which maybe there's like one guy out there that's going to do that.
I'm going to be very curious to see if putting a 6-pin in this will work still, because I did it on my RX4, some of those RX 470s. I've done it on another graphics card as well. I think back in Japan I had one with an 8-pin or something. I tried another one too, and yeah, all those cards, 6 pins were working in the 8-pin slots. Like, you just plug in a 6-pin and the graphics card still works. I'm really curious to see if this RX 580 will work with just a 6-pin. I've got a feeling it will.
It probably will. Yeah, you're right. It just kind of begs the question of why would anyone ever do that? Because it's easy enough just to put an 8-pin in.
Yeah.
If you could get the 6-pin in, you could probably get the 8-pin in. So
That's it.
it'll just be there to give you that bit extra. I mean, a lot of people did complain about the power limitations on the reference 480s, but the non-reference 480s were a very good step up from the reference 480. So yeah, I'll be interested. But I mean, I'll be doing a lot of showdowns with these 580s and 570s. They're coming out with a few new, the board partners are making new coolers and new models for them as well, upgraded models. So that'll be interesting also. And I think it will breathe a little bit of light into it. If you're a current 480 owner or something, I doubt there'll be any reason to upgrade. But if you were someone in the market for one of those mid-level, that value for money tier graphics card, then waiting around for these new ones to come out, especially if price-wise they're the same, yeah, you could probably get yourself a good deal. Or the fact that many retailers will be probably clearing out their 480 and 470 stock, you might be able to get a good non-reference 480 on special or something if they're just trying to clear out their stock.
That's what I was thinking. A 470 or a 480 on special would be the way to go. I mean, I love the 470. I've been a big fan of the 470 since it was released. It's a really kick-ass budget value card. It just kicks absolute ass for what it is. 4 gigabytes of RAM is kind of, in my opinion, that 4 gigabytes of VRAM is perfect for 1080p gaming, where its sweet spot is. Couple it with the now G4560. And that's another reason why, like, a lot of the times when I'm hunting for used parts, there's just no point in buying some of these parts, because the new parts coming in are just bringing the competition so hard. Ever since the G4560 was released and the RX470, GTX 1060, even when these cards were released, it's just like a massive shake-up to the used especially the used GPU section. And now with the G4560, the new CPU, used CPUs and stuff like that. So crazy. But here we go. We've got the next article here, Ryzen 5. So we don't know any details until the NDA lifts, but I've actually saw this YouTube video where this guy he didn't give a shit about NDA. He was showing the BIOS pics and everything. I'd have to find the video again, but he was just overclocking it. He got his to like 3.8 gigahertz, and he was comparing it against some of the lower SKU i5s and i7s, and not i7, i5s, I think. And yeah, it was doing pretty well. It was doing really well. So we've got confirmation here that Ryzen 5 can be overclocked to 4 gigahertz. So that's looking like it's pretty much in line with the Ryzen R7s as well. A lot of those are hitting around 3.9 to 4 gigahertz seem to be the topping out points there. What about you with your CPUs? I mean, I've found about 3.9 with my 1700X to 4.025, so it's pretty good. Like that, the margins are tight. Like there's not a wild variance.
Oh yeah. That's for sure. No, I got 4 gigahertz out of when I finished my Ryzen 5 test rig. I chucked the Ryzen 7 1700 in just to make sure get everything sorted in preparation for Ryzen 5. And I overclocked that guy just because why not? Just to see how much I could get out of it. And just like every single other one I tested, I got 4 gigahertz out of it, and it wouldn't do 4.1 no matter what I did. Put the voltage up to 1.45, and it just wouldn't happen. So, yeah, they just seem to like to sit around that. I would say for the usual owner, if you've got a Ryzen 7 or you're thinking about buying one, hope for 4 gigahertz. That's kind of what most people should be getting, but you may end up with one that can only go to 3.9. If you're really unlucky, you'll get one that only goes to like 3.85. But yeah, I think this is what a lot of us expected out of Ryzen 5, so that the overclocks are not that spectacular by comparison to say KB Lake, but we will just have to see, because price point wise it is very aggressive, the price points these are coming in at. And I think the other thing that's really important is how the testing is done for Ryzen 5. So I can only speak for myself, but I have really thought about this, and because of issues with NVIDIA's DirectX 12 drivers and Ryzen, I've decided to not do any DirectX 12 benchmarking when I do my Ryzen 5 showdowns. Because I'll be running the GTX 1080, which is the most powerful graphics card I have available to me. The reason why we run these powerful cards is because we want to eliminate that GPU bottleneck. So I won't be doing any DirectX 12 testing. It'll just be, I'll do obviously productivity testing like normal, Cinebench, Handbrake, all of that fun stuff, 3D Mark, but also gaming, and all the games will just be DirectX 11 to make sure there's no funny business going on in regards to NVIDIA's DirectX 12 drivers, to keep it nice and fair for you guys.
Well, I honestly don't believe in DX12 yet. Vulkan is so good. Like Doom showed what Vulkan was really about. I actually played through Doom with Vulkan on. I love it. It's good. Every time I boot up Doom, I'm like changing it to Vulkan. I haven't played any games yet where I've wanted to switch to DX12. Every time I turn it on, I get crashing or just freaking stuttering that's not there on DX11. I don't like, why test a game if it's running like shit on DX12? It doesn't make any sense. So I'm kind of with you on that. Like I won't be doing much DX12 testing unless people really want to see it. And even then, it's like, okay, who's using DX12 at the moment on what game? Because I'd love to see a game. Admittedly, I haven't tested every game on DX12 yet, but all the games I tested on DX12, after playing on it for a couple of minutes, I've just reverted back to DX11. I couldn't wait to revert back. Because again, even on both an AMD and an NVIDIA graphics card, didn't matter on the graphics card, just ran like shit on both. So that's something with DX12 at the moment. I'm kind of really waiting to see the real benefits of DX12. Vulkan, we already know that runs awesome. That's like, I just wish they would focus on Vulkan instead of DX12. I'd love to.
Yeah, I mean, we would like to see that a bit more. But yeah, the Ryzen 5 testing will be very interesting. I think also the other thing I changed this time was, if you guys watched my last showdowns or with Ryzen 7, I was mainly running the memory at 2133 megahertz on both systems, the Intel and AMD system. This time around, I'm going to be running 2933 memory on the Ryzen system, and probably like 2800 or whatever I can get on the Intel system. I think that will be quite good as well, because a lot of people are talking now about how the memory speed, the high memory speed, really benefits Ryzen because of the Infinity Fabric. So yeah, that'll be something else I'm doing this time, as well as making sure all my Ryzen 5 testing is with the memory at a decently high clock speed, So there's basically, this is going to be favorable. Well, not favorable, but I would say it makes Ryzen. I'm trying to make this as fair as possible and playing to all the strengths of Ryzen. So having the fast memory, no DX12 testing, and all those things. And we'll see how it comes out then with the comparisons that I'll be doing to certain i7s and i5s.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this.
Should be testing all 4 Ryzen chips.
Just looking at this. This was from Hard OCP. They were using level 5 load light calibration. I think a lot of the times that's the lowest setting, especially if the, you know. I recommend using the highest level or the level 1 below the highest, because the V droop, you don't want that. So that their 1.45 volt might be dropping down to 1.38, 1.37, and that's right about where 3.3975 or whatever 3.975 gigahertz or 4 gigahertz is about sweet spotted. So they might have been able to get it higher if they were using level 1 at 1.45 volt. So I think that, just pointing that out, if you guys are overclocking, always make sure you've got a decent power supply, of course. Level 5 is if you've got a pretty bad power supply, because some of those power supplies, they're not that stable in their ripple and whatnot. So you load them up and then they just go above, like, the 12 volts actually pushing out 12.2 or whatever. It's just they're terrible power supplies. And so that's why that was always there, that spec, that standard was to counteract pretty poor gear. But nowadays, with power supplies being so good and motherboard VRMs being so good, you can just bump that to level 1 or level 2 and you're still going to have just a smooth power delivery all the way. There's going to be no spikes per se. So that's why that spec was always there. So just pointing that out there. X299, we're just going to move straight into it because we want to get on the Q&A too. Don't want to make it too long a show, even though a lot of people miss the show. Thanks, guys. So bench.life, the Chinese website. That's the Chinese website, and they're known for very accurate Intel-related leaks, have said that X299 is coming for computex. That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
So
instead of being early August, it's going to be the 4th week of June. So it looks like Intel's moved it up by quite a bit, which is interesting for them. I don't think I've seen them do that before.
Well, it looks like it'll be showcased at Computex, but it looks like it'll hit in the 4th week. So they're saying June 19th to 25th. So they're actually calling it Skylake X processors too. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too interested in this at the moment. Like, I'm really looking out. If there's an Intel CPU that I'm looking forward to, would be that 6-core mainstream CPU. Because it's going to have the latest IPC. It's going to be 6 cores, hopefully overclocked better than its other 6 cores, the 6800K and its predecessor, the 5820K. That's the one I'm looking out for. Really looking forward to that one to see how it goes. If it's a wild 6-core, if it's just a tame 6-core. I want the wild 6-core. How about you, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be looking for sure, and obviously both of us will be doing a lot of testing on this. Those 6 cores, I mean, the thing is, this is where Intel really needs to hit back, because Ryzen decimated Broadwell E, basically. I mean, I run Broadwell E, and
I run Ryzen.
There's no two ways about it. If someone came to me right now, I was like, I'm going to be building a rig for productivity and gaming. Which CPU should I buy? I would just say Ryzen 7 for sure, because why, in terms of just pure value for money, it's just so much of a better deal. So yeah, for sure. I feel like Intel is a little bit panicked by Ryzen. I think they didn't expect it maybe to be as good as it was. So now they're moving up the release date because it's decimated the Broadwell E line so badly. I mean, the sales must have gone off a cliff now. They're probably going to be trying to bring this up so it can launch on this new platform with, I'm guessing, a whole bunch of new stuff. We don't really know too much yet. And obviously with these new CPUs, that should be, I mean, it's going to depend on the price point. If Intel's going to stay with these very high prices that we've obviously gotten used to with, say, Haswell E and Broadwell E, then I really don't know how how well it's going to sell, because the Ryzen 7s are just such good value. If they're going to bring these out with these high price tags again, it's going to be a very hard sell to try sell a 6-core Skylake X CPU or Kaby Lake X CPU against an 8-core Ryzen 7 that might be $100 or $200 cheaper depending on where you live, which might have even better performance still. So they're going to have to be pretty smart about this. I think the prices will have to be much more competitive this time around now that they actually have competition. And yeah, I think that'll be very interesting there. But the X299 platform will probably be the most interesting thing that I think a lot of us will be looking at in terms of what's new, because I mean X99 has been around such a long time now, that this would be really cool. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to the most.
The Skylake, I'm looking forward to seeing how it overclocks. That's the simplest thing for me. If it overclocks well, if you can get a 6-core and an 8-core up to pretty high frequencies, much higher than Broadwell E, if they can do Haswell E frequencies, then that'll actually be pretty good for them, especially for people looking for that extra edge. I know a lot of people out there who want to get the extra productivity out of their systems, and they don't mind spending the extra money. They're writing it off on tax or whatever. It doesn't matter. The business expense. They want to do business faster and better. They can do it with better productivity CPUs and whatnot. So yes, Ryzen offers amazing value for money. But again, people are always looking for the best, regardless. Doesn't matter what industry you're in. So is it going to be the best, or is it going to be just a little bit better than what's out there? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. I honestly think, I hope they don't pull another Broadwell E and that you can't overclock these things that high. Because the 5820K versus the 6800K, that was a joke in my opinion. Here you had one CPU that was hitting 4.5, 4.6 gigahertz. Then they released the 6800K and it's only getting 4.2, 4.3. It's kind of like, what's the point of this CPU? Especially for enthusiasts. It's like, wow, okay, my 5820K is getting higher overclocks, is not even worth getting the 6800K. I picked up a bargain on a 5820K. Got it for $250 when the 6800K was released. So it was like, okay, this was awesome. I'm a boss. Yeah, that's what you say.
I think that's a very, very good point. So if these Skylake X Kaby Lake chips are very good overclockers, as well as having the IPC improvements and everything over Broadwell E, or Broadwell in general, I think it'll be quite good. It's just, again, this will be very, very interesting. And this is the reply that I think a lot of people will be looking forward to in terms of how Intel replies to Ryzen. And this will be the one everybody's watching. However, if they're rushing it now, if you guys can remember back to when X99 first launched, I can remember back then, there was a lot of issues back then, sort of like what we've seen now with the X370s and B350s, some of them. And if they're rushing X299 and it comes out and we have a repeat of X99, then that's going to be a little bit annoying to a lot of people as well. So let's hope they don't rush it too hard and throw these out when they're not.
Honestly, a lot of people blame X99 on Intel. I'd say that more so was on the board partners. I mean, I tried the ASRock board, stable as. Other board partners were having real big problems. I don't think, a lot of people just blame Intel for that. It's like, nah, if ASRock are getting it right and the other guys are getting it wrong, then doesn't it kind of the onus fall a little bit on the motherboard manufacturers here? So
yeah, true.
Nothing but bliss after I got an ASRock board in and started with 5820K. I was like, bang, this is really good. And you got to remember that was the first release of DDR4 memory too. That was when DDR4 memory first came out. So
true.
That's what actually going to segue into the next article here. So the next generation of DDR5 memory is going to be released, or it's actually the standard's going to be finalized in 2018. But as the article points out, DDR4 was actually finalized in 2012. And it didn't go mainstream until 2015, but it actually 2014 with X99. So that was when DDR4, so it was about a 2-year delay. So we could see DDR5 based on that. If we're going to do historical analysis here, we'd say that DDR5 memory is going to come out in 2020. So that's quite a long way away. That's 3 years away. It's like when Ryzen was first, or Zen was first touted in the public in 2014. It was like, oh my god, AMD's making this. That was ages ago.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a long time ago now.
Yeah. Oh man, that was crazy. 3 years ago. What was I doing 3 years ago? Oh yeah, being a sucker. I was being a sucker 3 years ago. That's what I was being. So besides that,
I think this will be quite interesting. Yeah, I'm. As the article says, guys, there's no relation to GDDR5, if that's what you might have been thinking. But the
yes, there is. You take away the G, and then you've got DDR5, bro.
Oh, really? So, yeah, this will be this. I mean, I think not many. I speak for myself. I'm not like waiting for DDR5. I think DDR4 is still very, very solid. I think the main thing I think people are looking forward to is PCIe 4.0. That would be really good. We actually thought it might be coming out with X299. I doubt that. It seems like it would be too quick for it. But probably after that, we can start expecting it maybe towards the end of this year, definitely next year. And that will be very, very cool to see. Because we've been on PCIe 3.0 for... When did that come out? I can't even remember.
Yeah.
It's been out for a while now, eh?
Well, I just wanted to say, dude, you take away the G, which is gangster, and then you've got Dank Dog RAM 5. That's what it stands for. So
I never knew that. Thanks for educating all of us, Brian. That was great.
So, sorry, I lost focus before. What were you alluding to?
No, I was just saying. Do you think that's are you looking forward to PCIe 4.0 by comparison to something like this? Like, I think that'll be much more interesting going forward.
Yeah, PCIe 4 would be more interesting. Actually, they're both good. They're both going to be pretty good. They're both upgrades. PCIe 4, I'm more looking forward to it for the mainstream platforms where we do have limited amounts of PCI Express ports. Like, for instance, with my Ryzen 5, my card is now on PCIe 3.0 8-speed. So, kind of like, if it was PCIe 4.0, you wouldn't have to worry because you're doubling up on the speeds again. So, that is something I'm looking forward to. Anything is always a better thing. Of course, PCIe 3.0 16X is just perfect. You're not going to saturate that for quite a long time. Though the way things are going with 40% gains every year, 35% gains every year, in 2 years' time, you could probably see yourself saturating that, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to... It's just when you do the test, you do the test, right? But again, higher speeds is always a better thing. So bring it on. DDR5, bring it on. PCIe 4.0, bring it on. Looking forward to them. Yeah. There always are upgrades. I'm wondering what they're going to do if they're going to release SATA 4. I know that was in the works, but I think, with the, the implementation of NVMe and whatnot, I think they're kind of like, let's kind of forget about SATA 4. So, and now some big news here. Do you want to add anything else on that or not?
No, that's fine.
Okay. So we got some big news. Destiny 2. Well, at least my brother's telling me this is the hugest news ever. Destiny 2 PC. So it's coming to PC. Destiny 1 didn't. Destiny 2 will come to PC. And apparently it's going to have cross-platform play as well for the multiplayer. So this is going to be one of those huge games where hopefully PC master race, lord, saviors of the world can combat their console peasant, antagonists and whatever. Sworn enemies or whatnot, so it'll be pretty cool. But besides that, I'm really looking forward to the game. I haven't actually seen much gameplay footage yet, so they've just had a reveal trailer so far, but it looks like September 8th is what we're looking at for Destiny 2. I'm definitely going to give it a whirl, and it's looking like it will be released on Steam too, so that's a really cool thing. So you can jump into Steam, start playing the game. You'll have VAC there as well, so hopefully it weeds out a lot of hacks. I know there was a lot of concerns about Destiny 2 and hackers, because PC is obviously a much easier platform to inject hacks into as opposed to consoles. So maybe it's each to their own. I'd say probably consoles probably be easier because you just got like people doing these. My brother's telling me about some people having these LAN switches where they like switch on and off or something, and it's just they create this artificial lag, and then they're just like teleporting and killing people. So I
Huh. Wow, I've never heard of that.
apparently it's a thing. So, but you get banned for it, and if you get banned for life. So, yeah,
that's good.
Destiny 2. Are you looking forward to it? I'm really looking forward to it. Like, actually looking forward to it.
I can't say I am really. I never really got into that franchise, but yeah. I mean, if it turns out being as good as it's people are hyping it up to be, then maybe I'll start getting into it.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that was one thing I tried it with the consoles. Like my brother's like, get into it, man. I had a PS4, and I tried it, and I used that mouse converter thing, and it was so retarded. Like I just was like, wow, this is crap. So I want my PC smooth mouse rates and whatever. So it was just so bad. I tried on the console, like moving my mouse around, like this sucks. I just rage quit after it. Yeah, it felt like there was input lag being introduced, all sorts of crap coming on there with those controllers. So yeah, I just want it on PC. So it looks like they're bringing it to PC. It's still going to be a PS4 exclusive though, where PS4 gets content out before the other two platforms. So yeah, are you guys looking forward? Let us know in the comments. Are you looking forward to Destiny 2 for PC? I think it'll be really cool. I think it'll be a shake-up. Better graphics, MMO. And another thing I want to talk about, Western Digital unveils their first portable SSD. And so SSDs have come down in price, and I'd love to have a portable SSD. I think now that we've got those USB 3, which with the really high speeds.
Yeah, 3.1 Gen 2.
Yeah, like I've got this Kingston Savage here. This is really good. It's got a great burst rate on it. So the burst rate's fantastic on this thing, but it does slow down after a little while. So I'd love to see one with consistent, 500 megabyte speeds over those USB 3 ports. That'd be awesome. So
yeah, I mean, this would be pretty crazy. The prices will still, I mean, they're saying US $400 for the 1 terabyte, $200 for the 512, and $100 for the 256. So obviously scales pretty well with the prices. But yeah, it's still quite a bit when you compare that to a mechanical drive, like one of the Western Digital ones. You could probably get I have no idea, but you could probably go up much larger in terms of capacity for a similar price points. But of course you lose the speed there, and that is the main downside. So yeah, I think this would be pretty cool if they keep doing this and the prices are coming down. I think this really shows the benefits of USB 3.1 Gen 2. So yeah, it's good that it'll be taking full advantage of it, and I think a lot of people who are wanting fast, maybe for guys like us, if we're trying to quickly, I don't know, move over files from one test system to the other, large files, maybe move over a game or something like that.
Well, to your friend's computer too. To your friend's computers,
yeah. So I think it could be very useful for some people out there, but I would say at those price points, they are good in terms of when you're looking within the SSD market, but when you compare it to the overall sort of external drive market, that is a pretty penny to pay for the luxury of that speed. And of course you have to make sure that your motherboard supports that USB. If you're on older motherboard, it's not going to be able to support, it might only support USB 3.0, or it might not even have that.
Still going to be absolutely fine over USB 3. You'll get even not even 3.1. You should be able to get really good speed. So I think I like the $100 version, the 256 gigabyte. Obviously that's MSRP. You'll probably get a bit cheaper, 90, 80, whatnot. So I could really use one of these things because I'm capped at 64 gigabytes with this thing at the moment. And of course the speeds slow down after massive transfers. So something like this is looking pretty good. Apparently Samsung already have one out as well. They've got a model out. So it's always a Western Digital versus Samsung thing at the moment. It looks like they're clashing heads a lot, and might have to check that out. But I could really use one of these in my life. It would be really cool. Again, you get those faster speeds just when you need it. Just when obviously a lot of people would be like, have a good network set up, and you just plug into the network, plug into the matrix, and copy your files over with Smith support. Yeah,
I mean, you have to use an adapter though if you guys are running Type A ports. You'll have to run an adapter because it's set up for Type C ports. So keep that in mind as well. you'll have to be pulling out the adapters to make that work.
And then there's, of course, there's the portability. It's going to be SSDs. So it's going to be so small. It's going to sip no power. So really looking forward to that. So you just plug it, take it around with you everywhere. It'll be a little pal, be a little friend. Much more, I guess, convenient than a external hard drive. Even the 2.5, the big ones, because you got to be careful with those things. You can't exactly shake them around. I've dropped an SSD actually quite a few times, and they're tanks. You don't want to drop a hard drive, man. The thing will be gone. No. It'll start making. First of all, when you drop a hard drive, what happens is it starts making a weird noise. And you're like, that'll go away over time. But then it just gets worse. And it gets worse. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, pew, it's so undramatic. It's so non-dramatic. It's just like, oh, it just died.
Yeah, I mean, my one, when it died, my Seagate Barracuda, I just went to look at, get files of it one day and then go into my computer, or my PC now, I suppose they call it, and it just disappeared. It just wasn't there anymore. and so I was just like, oh, what's going on here? And yeah, that thing just all of a sudden, just fine, and one day gone.
Gone skis, man. That's how it happens, dude. That's how it happens. First sign of a slowdown, guys. If you go hard drive, first signs of weird noises, weird problems, back up your files if you haven't. I've seen this before with countless people. Brian, my data's gone. Help me. And it's like, I can't resurrect a dead drive. I'm not a necromancer, guys. so I've seen that one too many times. They always have double, like crucial files, always have them double backed up. So just before we get on to the Q&A, I will say thank you guys so much for the Patreon support. I also got a donation for $500,000 USD. It was huge. I was like, wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, so thank you so much for you guys supporting the channel. It's really appreciated. I really do appreciate it so much. And you don't have to. I mean, I get by, doing things. I wheel and deal. I hustle. I'm always working on the grind, and I do appreciate it so much. It does help a lot. Thank you guys so much. But of course, if you guys are struggling, don't donate any money. If you guys are on the grind like me, I don't want you to donate money. Because, I would just keep grinding and harder and harder. So, I'm a grinder, bro. That's what I am. That's what I do. I grind. That's it. So, what is the worst mistake you guys have made whilst building a PC? Tech One asks. Do you want to go first?
So, my one, I haven't really made any real shockers. Not that I'm aware of, but I've made a few like stupid little mistakes. Probably the funniest one was when the GTX 970s, 980s, and that all came out. That was the start of the like 0 decibel technology, where the fans wouldn't always be spinning; the fans would turn off. And so a lot of the graphics cards, because people didn't know at that time that was a thing. And a lot of them didn't have the indicators which we have nowadays, which say fan stop and stuff on the side. A lot of them, they would put like stickers over the fans that you had to rip off before you installed them, which said, if the fans aren't spinning, that's fine. That's part of this new technology, all of that stuff. The MSI at the time, the 970, I believe it was, that had this big sticker saying that over just one of the fans towards the back of the card, and I didn't realize that sticker was on there. I think I was in a rush and I just whacked it straight in my rig. I booted up and I was checking out the temperatures, making sure everything was fine, and I was wondering why just one of the fans was spinning really hard and the temps were really high, and I was like, oh, this card must be broken or something's wrong with it. So I pulled it out to give an inspection, and I realized I hadn't pulled off the sticker, so only one of the two fans was actually spinning, and it was the important one that's over the GPU die. So that wasn't really good, but I never made that mistake again. But that was not really my worst mistake, but probably the stupidest one I made. Basically the only really dumb mistake I've made that I can think of when building a PC.
Like, I always rip stickers off everything, but I know, for instance, my brother, man, he doesn't rip any of those stickers off, so he would have came into the same thing. There's people out there that just don't like to rip stickers off anything. Like, I've seen countless people who have their smartphones and they haven't pulled that initial sticker off, and it's not a protective layer, it's just because they don't want to get, like, fingerprints on the glass screen or something. So it's understandable. That's not really, like, mistake per se. It's kind of like just one of those things. If you're I guess, OCD about cleanliness of your tech, or if you're like me, you just don't really care. You're just like, okay, I want to use this. I want all the stickers off. I don't like stickers unless they're like Transformers stickers. Then they're pretty cool. So worst mistake I've made probably be when I was back to 2007 when I had P5Q motherboard. I don't know what I was doing, but there was still live power going through the computer, and I was just like unplugging. I was like, yeah, just take this thing off. I think I was playing around with the fan or something, and like you do, live fans. I got a video on the 1080 Ti review where I'm playing around with a live fan too for the win, but yeah, just dropped the screwdriver, fell on the rig, sparks just went everywhere. And I was just like, oh shit, I was just like, whoa, shit, this is real. Computer shut off with the safety mechanism. That's why it's always good to have a good power supply, guys. The thing will shut off straight away. At that point in time, I was like, damn, something is definitely broken here. But sure enough, left it for a good 10 minutes. So went outside, had a breather. Came back inside and booted up. The computer still worked, and that's why I love the old school Asus motherboards. That's why I love the old school Gigabyte motherboards. They was built like brick shithouses. They were so tough. Dare I'd say you do that on a motherboard nowadays, the thing will be blowing up, it'll be gone. So they put really good components on some of those LGA 775 motherboards. So that's just what you got to look forward to. No, you don't have to look forward to. That's what you had to look forward to in those days. It was just really cool.
Yeah.
But of course, there's all the heat pipes as well. But that's the thing is, it wasn't it was a mistake that I busted the heat pipes, but I had to get that into that case because I didn't want to hack up the case. The thing is, hacking up the case wasn't an option because I was going through customs, and I've already been scanned through customs with PCs before. They are really anal retentive. If you're going through with a hacked up case, man, it's just going to cause problems. So hacking up the case wasn't an option. Getting a smaller GTX 1070 wasn't just me. Like, it was at the time in Japan, it was like an extra $100 for a 1070. That was the cheapest 1070. It just went on special. I was like, oh, pulling the trigger. Don't really care if it fits or not. I'll make it fit. That was my attitude. And if the coolers, my intention was to replace the cooler with something. I know I had a heap of coolers, and the Sith one just worked so well. I was surprised at how well that cooler worked in the end, and it fitted in the mini ITX case. It was really cool. That worked out. So that was like a $6 cooler I picked at a junk bin. I think in one of my previous vlogs, it was ages ago, but that's why I always pick up bargains, and I always recommend people, if you come across a bargain and you're kind of like always building computers and it's your passion, never pass up a good bargain, because you never know when you might need it. That cooler, that Sith cooler that I got, it was just really cool. Dark Side, Jedi, it was just badass. I know people say it's Scythe. I just like to say it's Sith. Is you gonna hate me for that? Yeah, I say things so like bad sometimes, like a Zeus. I'm never gonna change. Like Asus, man, it's Asus. It's like, no, it's a Zeus. Get used to it. So a follow-up question, Leaflet says he wasn't very clear. He loves the channel and the direction that he likes the direction it's going in. He just feels like the fun videos why he started to follow the channel. Yeah, when I was full on Larrikin, man, I'm going to bring that back, of course. That just takes time. If the man behind the camera isn't right, then the content's not going to be right. And I've went through a lot of personal shit in the last year, especially the last year, man. It's been really tough IRL. And I know a lot of people don't care about the IRL stuff, but if I'm not right IRL, then the content's not going to be right. So I'm finally getting back into the groove of things, finally starting to get my mojo back, being like, okay, I'm just going to do a video the way I want to do it, include a lot of Larrikin stuff in there. The vlogs, there's one vlog a month. I'm not going to stop doing that. One vlog a month, one used PC from the vlog parts that I pick up. That's kind of like a ritual now. People love it. I love doing it. I want to eventually, in the next couple of months, take on a real young guy. He's been so keen to work with the channel. He's obviously going to be pretty cheap on the salary. So hopefully when he comes on, we can really get the videos out every single day. Bang, bang, bang. Content, content, content. So that's what I've got to look forward to. New office. Going to ramp things up. I promise you guys, like, these aren't, I don't make empty promises either. So promise you guys that it's going to get up and running. It's going to get up and running really, really well, really soon.
Yeah.
So.
Just quickly, Brian.
Yep.
So we got a donation from Dylan873.
Thanks, bro.
So thank you so much, Dylan. It's really cool. and he said, I tried to put a GTX 770 and an i5 4460 on a 300 watt Dell PSU. The PSU blew up. Luckily, it didn't take anything with it. Yeah, that was definitely stretching that little PSU a bit.
Yeah, blowing up power supplies is always a fun thing, though. I've blown up one before. Never going to do it again. Never going to do it again. Never going to do it again. Because it made me sick. Like I was literally throwing up all day. I was like, what's this smell? And it got worse and worse. And then I finally realized there was smoke coming out of the computer. I was like, oh, shit. And bang, next minute, bang, power supply's gone. And then after that, after it blew out, it made the worst smell ever. And I was just like, because it was the middle of winter, it was pretty cold, so I didn't know I had the windows open. And straight away, opening the windows, freeze my ass off, started vomiting. It was bad, man. So don't use a cheap power supply. Don't use an underpowered power supply too. Things can go wrong. And by the way, it's pronounced the letter A. Oh, you guys say is A in Canada? Oh, sorry, A. But A. I'm gonna go to Canada. I still haven't been there yet. I'd love to go. I'd love to see some discussion about custom fan curves. How do you set it differently for CPU versus GPU? Actually, really good question, Johnny. What parameters to look out for when prioritizing one of the following three categories: efficiency, noise, maximum cooling. I'm going to go with number 2. For me, it's about the noise. For me, there's just a line. It's like bearable, unbearable. Some fans just make these noises that are just so unbearable. They're usually reference fans, by the way. I find that the larger the fan, the less noise it makes in general. And a lot of the coolers coming out on GPUs nowadays, they're really quiet. They're really good. I absolutely love what a lot of like 80%. The fans are on 80%. A lot of the cards I've tested, the accelerators are on 80%. The Aorus, they're on 80%, and they're just absolutely kicking us at 80%. The noise is a little bit noticeable, but I can bear it. So for me, it's about the noise, where I can get those fans to before it starts becoming unbearable. Obviously, if it's maximum fans and it sounds like a jet engine, I'm going to tune that down and then work from the noise. It's weird because I'm not an OCD guy about noise. I like a bit of noise. I don't mind a bit of noise, but that's where I work from. So I'll set a custom fan profile. It's usually the same for the CPU and the GPU, 50 degrees. So after 50 degrees, my fans hit 70 or 80%, depending on the noise. I test it out depending on the card or the cooler. Before that, idle 20%. So it's just whisper quiet. And that's for me. How about you with your custom fan profiles?
It depends on what I'm trying to achieve there. So with things like reference model cards, oftentimes, like things like I used to run a reference 290 as my sort of spare graphics card, and I would set a custom fan curve for that because the stock one was just horrendous in terms of noise. And in that, I traded off noise, fan speed, for temperature, so I didn't mind it running like 92, 93 degrees when I was gaming constantly, as long as it was staying quiet. So because those things were just so damn loud. But it's different for every person. So if you've overclocked your graphics card, or, for example, you've overclocked it quite high, then you might want to go through and see, what temps it's getting up to now with that stock fan curve. Hey, can I, I've still got say 10 degrees spare before it starts throttling. I'll maybe lower the fan curve a little bit to keep those noise down, but then exchange the card will go up another 5 degrees, and you can make trades like that. So I think your first thing, the efficiency and sort of noise. I don't know like anyone who would run their fans on like full bore, because it's just ridiculous, and you don't really need to. Even if you're overclocking, there's no real need. On a good GPU cooler, there's no point really. So yeah, I think that's what you kind of have to look at is get your overclocks and stuff set the way you want, see how you're doing temps wise, and then just kind of work off that, do that trade of, we're going to bring maybe the fan curve down a little bit to bring the noise down a little bit, but in exchange your temps are going to go up a bit, and just see, sort of try find that balance. And once you get it tuned in, like I did with my reference 290 really well, I mean, that thing, which those were notorious for being like a jet engine, that was a lot better then. in terms of noise. It was quite good, but temperature-wise, it was getting very, very hot, but it wasn't throttling. It wasn't going to 95 and throttling. It was sitting 92, 93 and would never go above that. So it was still very, very hot, but not throttling. And that was quite good as a balance. So yeah, that's what I would say is the best thing to do. You just have to work off your temps that you have, and then from there you can figure out what sort of ones will do the best for you. And the same goes for CPU temps, obviously, as well. Yeah.
Okay, so he also further on follows on with the Gigabyte. He's got the Gigabyte AB350 Gaming 3. It features fan headers at different regions. So sometimes with the different regions of the fan headers, they're going to be either 4-pin or 3-pin. 4-pin is PWM, which then from the BIOS, you can control the fan speeds manually. If you got the 3-pin, you can use the noise adapter voltage things, like the Noxus 12 volt, 7 volt, or whatever, that reduces the noise via a manual thing. But you want to be hooking into the 4-pin headers, then you can set your fan speeds with custom fan profiles. He's running the NZXT S340 case. Okay, so it's good. With the fan headers, you've only got 3. If you've got 4 fans, 3 fan headers, you might want to use a splitter. Usually 2 fans off 1 header's fine, though if you're going with 4 fans like I've done in my Ryzen workstation, I'm using the water cooling fan header because it's got double the power, double the amps. You don't want to overload a fan header too much because they can blow out. They're only rated to a certain ampage and power rating, so don't overload your fan headers too much. But on eBay, you've got those $1 fan splitters. Bang, you can now hook up 2 fans off 1 header, which is usually fine for 120mm fans. Obviously, you probably don't want to go with 200mm fans off the same fan header, but bang, 4 fans off those fan head splitters. Then you want to probably go with the water cooling fan header, which I don't think is on the AB350 Gaming 3. If I'm mistaken, I'd have to double check.
I don't believe it is.
On the X370 though, a lot of the X370 boards, they do have those fan headers with extra power available. So even though they call the water cooling option, they're really just fan headers with more power available. So you can use a 4-fan splitter on there, and it works really effectively. It works really well. Good sources for custom cable sleeving. If you guys are on eBay, there's the Gamer Chief in Australia. I don't know too much about international, but the Gamer Chief cables are so damn good. They come sleeved with these really cool combs in there that just makes life so easy. I've got them, I've got a heap of them here, and they're on special, and they're really good value for custom sleeve cables, and they really do bring up a build. They really do cosmetically enhance a build. Of course, a bit of RGB enhances a build too, but that's a subjective. And so yeah, do you think third parties will release code that will unlock disabled cores on the R5 series? But I don't think so. I think AMD would have learnt their lesson by now. Yeah. I mean, 2017. If they haven't, then I'm going to be extremely surprised. And of course, buying out R5s.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's right. Just going back, I looked it up quickly about that motherboard for you, Brian. Yeah, it looks like it's running those that B350 Gigabyte. It's running lots of those 4 pins, and says sports up to 2 amps of built-in overcurrent protection. So that'll be great for you, dude. For all your whatever your water cooling or whatever it is, so that's going to be just solid. So yeah,
run them splitters. So we've got the fact that the 1500X will allow 200 MHz XFR. So XFR at the moment, I mean I've got to test it more, but I'm really not a fan of XFR at the moment.
Neither.
So when you talk XFR, I'm not really interested. Sorry, Angari. It's just the potential is go into the BIOS and manually overclock and get those manually overclocks set in on all cores. Because, a lot of people are like, oh man, I'm hitting 4.1 gigahertz on XFR boost, and it's like they do a Cinebench run, and the scores are way lower than my 4 gigahertz overclock. So it's kind of like, it's for me, I find XFR wasn't really doing much at all in the real world.
I mean, it does do, the thing is that a lot of you guys I think forget, is that it's not on all, say, if we're using the 1500X for the example, obviously that's a quad-core 8-thread CPU. It's not going to be on all 4 of those cores. The XFR will be on a single core, and it will take it 200 megahertz higher. Usually, yeah. It's the same as what we're seeing on Broadwell, for example. You get the boost or the turbo speed, and that will usually be on 1 or 2 of the cores, depending. So you'll see with the 6800K trying to do it from memory, it would go up to 3.8 on the first 2 cores, and then the other 4 would be at 3.4. Is that correct? I can't remember. You own the 6800K.
Yeah. So what yeah.
I think it was something like that. So it would go, or it was 3.6 on the other 4. I can't remember, but you guys see what I'm saying is that it's not just for AMD, so it's not like we're just picking on them. It's that fact that these in general will only take it up on 1 or 2 cores. And you may say, come back and say, well, that's what's important, for gaming and stuff. That is true, but at the end of the day, would you rather have 1 or 2 just going up, or would you have all of them going up? So then it's beneficial, or even higher than the XFR. And that's really what you want to see. I know not all of you guys will overclock, and it's still good. The fact that XFR is there is better than no XFR, but the difference isn't as big, I suppose, as AMD touted it. At least this was my interpretation, that the CPU was going to be like what we saw from NVIDIA with GPU Boost 3.0, and that it would keep overclocking itself automatically until it reached like a thermal limit or a power limit or something like that. So you would, just like with NVIDIA GPUs, you chuck them in and you might get 3 different 1060s, all the same model, and one will go to 1980, another one will go to 2040, another one will go to, say, 1920. There's a bit of, that's an extreme example, but there is that bit of variance there. And I personally thought that was going to be the case with Ryzen as well, that I would chuck one in, it would go up to like 3.9 on XFR, chuck another one in, it go 3.8, but that's not the case here. It's like Intel's Turbo Boost.
I was finding with the XFR, I was just doing the biggest Wesleys, bro. Like, it was on, you just see it, bang, 4.1 gigahertz for like a microsecond.
And
then
it drops.
Yeah, it was like, it's doing the biggest Wesley snipes, man, like ever.
Yeah.
He was killing those movies back in the scene when he was doing little snipes, So, yeah, I was finding I was doing Wesleys on all these cores, and you're like, huh? What's going on here? Like, this isn't a true boost. So yeah, not at the moment. I'll do some more testing, but not too interested in it. So when you do the used builds or the mix use new builds, I think you previously said you try to flip. Yeah, I do flip them. Do you do it at a cost you build? Yeah, so generally it's what I build them for. So I just like to do the videos. The videos is what makes it fun. I usually sell them what I get them for. In Japan, I was marking them up a little bit in Japan because I could get the extra money for them because no one was really doing it. But ever since I've come back, man, the parts are drying up. It looks like it's a real hobby that's catching on. So I'm having a lot of competition now. So and yes, people do know who they're buying from. Like when I meet people, oh, you're that dude, and they're like, cool. I'm like, cool. And so it's a lot of fun. So it is a lot of fun. So I'm enjoying it, but it's just, the competition is getting pretty high in the used parts scene. So yeah. Hi guys, I'm pretty keen on picking up an 8-core. So Spazzo Wacky, he says he's keen on picking on an 8-core. Do you think there would be any advantage in waiting for the R5s to launch? Yeah, of course. I'd wait for an R5. I mean, I saw the R7 go down $10. Like, that's still legit. I mean, of course, they will go on sale. You can pick them up on sale. I love the 8-core R7 1700. I think it's a good, safe bet, even picking it up now. It's a great value for money CPU. Of course, and I'm going to like the 1600 non-X as well. That's going to be my 2 picks.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was just about to say. I'd be like, dude, just wait. That 1600, the price to performance, I think will outdo the 1700. Out of all the Ryzen chips that they're releasing, that 1600, I think, my prediction right now, will be the best in terms of price to performance. I think that thing is going to be ridiculous for the price point it's coming in at. So yeah, I would definitely just wait, see how good the 1600 does by comparison, and then make your decision from there. Especially if you're not going to be doing any productivity stuff, you were just going to be gaming, then yeah, definitely wait for Ryzen 5 to come out.
Well, next question is actually pretty big. So Angari, he's waiting for the 1600, which is really cool. But have either of you noticed a dip in advertising revenue since restricted mode and all the drama with YouTube advertisers came about? I've noticed a huge hit in just, I don't think it's so much the revenue's changed. I think the algorithms changed ever since that happened, and so my channel's been getting smashed. I think now YouTube favors videos that are longer than 10 minutes. I think there's just this set thing that comes in there. So don't be surprised if you just start seeing a lot of more videos being more than 10 minutes on my channel. But because I was getting into this stage where I was making like 6-7 minute videos, I was really enjoying it. People were loving it because I just get to the point. But now it seems like I'm gonna have to stretch it out a bit because, again, it's like survival mode now. You've got to do what's best for surviving if you want to keep doing this gig, you know? So it's kind of sad that this has happened. It has affected me. I think some of my videos were coming up. People were telling me that some of my PC builds were coming up restricted. I'm like, why? What the hell? So it is affecting me. I know it's affecting me. I know it's affecting a lot of other YouTubers out there who are just getting their monetization completely removed on videos. And it's not fair at all, because this is that stupid article that the Wall Street Journal brought out. It's like, you got to understand, people are living off this and they're doing it as a job, and it's, if they've got a family, especially if they've got a family that depends on them, like, holy crap, that's a real douche move. You can't just get up and change
really
your profession overnight. Okay, I'm just
that was very, I think, bad of them, and they really blew it out of proportion. The issues with adverts playing on maybe inappropriate videos. But the thing is that's what the leap they were making was ridiculous. The advertisers, obviously, if a Coca-Cola ad or something else goes on a less than appropriate video, that doesn't mean that Coke endorses that video. It's just their advertisement over the top of it. They're not aware. They're not specifically picking the videos. It doesn't work like that. And that's what made it so stupid. And that's what the Wall Street Journal really, that was really, I think, irresponsible. And it, I just think it was really bad. The big guys on YouTube will be okay. If you've got, say, 100,000 subs or more, I think those people will obviously take a hit, as Brian was just saying, but they'll survive because their channel's big enough. It's those guys with under 100K, or especially under 50,000 subs, but say above 10,000, the people like me. That's what a lot of people are saying. Those are the channels that will be collapsing because of this. And the people will have to give up YouTube and go back to doing something else, or they will have to drastically reduce the amount of YouTube videos they do and pick up work somewhere else or something like that. Depending on how they have it set up. So that's the thing I think is quite harsh, that they really didn't take into consideration. But I in general, I think the whole thing was overblown. I think all the advertisers pulling out was maybe what they kind of had to do, because it was like a chain reaction after a few of the big ones pulled out. But I still think it's bad. And that guy that wrote, there's actually a lot more to that story with that guy. I suggest you guys, we won't talk about it now because we're going for ages, but I suggest you guys look into the story a bit more if you're interested, because that guy that wrote the article, pretty shifty. Like, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes with him writing something else about it. Like there's just a lot going on. So yeah, I think it's quite bad in general.
Yeah, apparently if you dig deep enough, there's this guy with an algorithm fix who was trying to blackmail Google or something.
Yeah, that's what it is. He's paid in it and stuff like that. There's a lot of funny stuff going on, so that's pretty bad. But yeah, you guys, if you have favorite creators out there that they just know that they will be feeling the bite. And if you want to support them, then I suggest donating to them if you can, or something like that, especially the small guys out there that many of you are probably subscribed to, the under 100,000.
Yeah, I guess the underground's been affected the most. Like the underground, you know what I mean? We make the independent content. It's just what we do for a living, and it's kind of like, okay, it's really been affected a lot. And it's, what can we do? I just got to keep grinding. I can't do anything about it. So it's, Anyway, so Morris says he's noticed really good questions this week too, guys. Really awesome questions. He's noticed a lot of AM4 boards don't include dual BIOSes. Any ideas what is behind that? Surely it's not expensive to add that feature. I'd say that they get the the X370 chipset design, and then it would probably be too time consuming or costly at this point in time to add in a dual BIOS just for them. So you will see dual BIOSes released in future iterations of motherboards or revisions or whatnot. But I just think they had to. I think everyone was rushed to the market. You saw that with the coolers. A lot of the companies didn't have those cooler fixes day one. They were behind. They were lagging behind big time. So AM4 was pretty rushed, and with that became the dual BIOS as well. Probably wasn't implemented early enough into the chipset's base design. So that's something that I'd love to see. A dual BIOS, of course. I know the benefits of a dual BIOS. It's awesome to have. So
it gives you that safety. So that's good. I mean, they have a lot of them. The Asus boards and stuff have that crashless BIOS, or I forget what their proper name is for it, but basically, like when I had that B350 and it had problems when I was flashing the BIOS and then it bricked, I still managed to, using a USB in that, recover the BIOS. So you can bring them back that way, but ideally you do want the dual BIOS. It is so much easier when you run into that problem, and all you do is just flick a switch and then you're back into
especially if you're testing out custom BIOS, hacked BIOS and whatnot.
Exactly.
It's really good to have, and that's what I'm sure a lot of people will want to do with the R5s as well, just to test it anyway. So would you rather use a G4560 Pentium and 1070 or a 7700K and a 1050 for the rest of the year, just playing some games? Very good question, Grover's one.
Probably the Pentium and the 1080, although
I'd go with the Pentium and the 1080 at 1440p ultra wide.
For gaming, that is. If it was productivity, then I would say the reverse.
Hands down too. Agree. Next one. Okay, he has an Athlon X2. We got a lot of questions. We're gonna start getting through these. Maybe just some snap answers here. So he has an Athlon X4, 3 GHz and 8 GHz RAM. What GPU would you recommend for me to use to get decent FPS on newer games? I'd recommend overclocking this thing as far as you can, if you can, and of course maybe just something like a 460 or a 1050 or a used GPU. Used GPU would go really well with this. And then you'd find a real decent sweet spot where you could play 1080p at decent settings. You got anything, Dad?
No, I would agree with that.
Okay, Grover's is going to be swapping out the motherboard next week. And how should I go about cleaning the thermal paste off my i7? I don't have any alcohol. Oh, damn. Okay. People say to use my thermal paste is only 6 months old, so do I need it? Is there anything else I should watch out for when swapping motherboards? Depends if it's capacitive or conductive thermal paste. If it's either of the two, then you'd want to clean it off properly. If it's non-conductive, non-capacitive, just grab easiest way is just to grab a tissue, just quickly wipe off the thermal paste on the, the integrated heat spreader. Bang, you're good to go, and put your new thermal paste on. Even though it'll be a bit messy, but I always recommend alcohol and alcohol wipes. They're so useful in doing a proper cleanup. Of course, you can just get the sprays.
It's not hard to get either. It's not hard to get isopropyl alcohol, so you should be able to find it where you live without too much hassle. And it does make a difference. It does make it a lot easier. It comes off much easier when you use it, but you don't have to. It's not like you absolutely have to use the isopropyl alcohol, but it will make your life easier if you do.
Dragon Kurt, he asks if either of us done a mineral oil PC. I've seen one in the flesh. I haven't done one yet. Love to do one, but again, it's kind of one of those things that would be very time consuming, and I got no time at the moment, unfortunately. Sorry, man. So X-Turk Connor, he's been requested in the show before by both of our hosts, but I'll put it in print. Please refrain from answering the questions in the thread. That's true. Stop. I'll agree with X-Turk. So we skipped a week too. Sorry, guys. Yep. And Coalition Gaming, he bought a discounted used X79 board that had bent pins, which caused the DIMM not to work. And they fixed it, and so the DIMM works now. Of course, I've experimented with bent pins, and it does. If you guys bend pins back, things can work again. I've fixed motherboards from the dead by bending the pins back, and then they work again, completely work fine. Subsequently, I've had boards that have just bad whatever. They just can't be fixed as well, so that's really cool that you got that working again. I know gaming is your main focus, but I value your opinion. So what CPU would you recommend for a low-power multi-core processor for Open Media Vault or Exponology home NAS build? Is the AM535 5370 a worthwhile consideration?
That's the old what's that? The two, what's that? The
dual core.
Quad core, 2 gigahertz thing.
It's the dual core, Pretty sure. I just recommend going with the cheapest Pentium, man. They're so cheap. They can be undervolted, and when you undervolt them and underclock them, they just sip so little power. And the resaleability of, especially of the G4560, would be really good too. That's would be my guess. Again, I don't do a lot of work with NAS. That's right up Wendell's avenue with networking. He knows so much about networking. He could probably give you the best recommendations, especially in his forums. But me, I'm always been like I'm like Windows Home Office noob cannon. So with networking, but it works. Hey, I get results, so it doesn't bother me. So yeah, that's at the end of the day what gets you results. So lastly, I can see 4 2TB refurb enterprises. Ooh, see, one thing I generally don't buy is refurb drives. If something's gone bad, then chances are something else in the drive can be on its way out too. That's why one thing I don't buy refurb is refurb drives. So I don't recommend really. You can experiment with them, dude, but make sure you get some warranty on them. So
yeah, I would just say get those WD Reds.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'd be solid.
Yeah, so that's generally use drives. You just check them out if they work. There's so many drive checking software, so much drive checking software out there that can give you percentage values of if the drive's good or not, and some drives can actually even sort of not fix the drive but help give it a longer life. So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the show this week. Be sure to head over to the techcity.tv/forum there if you want to ask questions for next week's episode. I'm going to Sydney tomorrow to meet up with the one and only Hardware Unboxed Steve, who's just been... I asked him to come on the show today, man, and he was just so busy. He's just benchmarking. So make sure you guys watch some of his videos because he's just been so flat out benchmarking. The Ferrari of benchmarking is at it again. So we're going to meet for the first time tomorrow too in Sydney. So that's going to be really cool. We're going to be at this event for Corsair. So if any of you guys are in Sydney and you want to go to the event for Corsair and meet up with either me or Steve, then make sure you be there. We'll meet up and possibly even have a beer afterwards, guys. So as always, love your work, Kev. Good stuff. Beautiful. And love all the viewers out there. Thanks, guys, for supporting the channel and watching the show as well if you made it this far. And we will catch you guys next week. And also, I'll put a link in the description below for Kev's channel. And Kev, do you have any closing statements before we get on out of here?
No, just thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And yeah, definitely head over because I'm going to be doing the most showdowns I think I've ever done in 1 week with Ryzen 5. So you guys are definitely going to be wanting to check those showdowns out. Okay, sweet. Sweet as. All right, guys. Beautiful. Beautiful. Love your work, mate. Beautiful. No. Beautiful. Love your work, mate. All right, guys. We'll catch you next week. Peace out for now. Bye.